Stop self-caring yourself to death. I'm fortunate that I get to interact with lots of different people, from personal things, business things, church things, just all different kinds of interactions with different people in different stages of life doing different things. But a common thing I just keep hearing, just not even forget about online and everything that we see about it, but just in my personal life, the people I get to interact with every single week. It's just there's so much talk about rest and self-care and all these different things. And I really just think that we're starting to self-care ourselves to death. And so I'm not against taking care of yourself. I'm not against rest. I think it's necessary. I think there's a time for it. But what I also think is that too many people are using it as a crutch, an excuse, a roadblock, a reason not to get started, a reason to hide behind something, and a reason not to do anything. And I get so sick of it when I hear people who are struggling with things or going through things or battling things, and they think the solution is just to rest more. They need more self care. They need a mental health day. And again, these are all real things. So I don't want to discredit any of those things. And I know people struggle with stuff. I think most people have been there at one point or another, but it becomes a point where we're just resting all the time and nothing's getting done. And so, again, I believe in rest. I believe in taking care of yourself. And I think there's a time and there's a place for it, but it's not 15 days out of every 30. It's not 10 days out of every 30. It's like you rest for a couple hours or half a day or maybe even a day, but then you got to go and you got to move and you got to get some stuff done. And this isn't just about going and working and getting stuff done either. I mean, when you're struggling with things and when you're battling with things, I just think, like Tony Robbins says this, but the secret to living is giving, and that can be your time, your talent, your treasure, your money. There's different ways that you can give, you can serve, you can do things for other. But as I just think back on different ways I've been able to get involved in with different organizations or whatever it may be, and serve and give back and do things, even when I didn't want to. I can't think of one time I did something and I regretted it. I can't think of one time I served and wish I hadn't done it. Even if I didn't want to in the moment and I had to force myself to go do it, I never look back and say, "Man, this was such a waste of time. Why I do this?" Because once you get there and you get to feel the energy, you're in the atmosphere, you get to see the impact you're having on other people. It's hard to feel bad about that. It's hard to stay in your own head and just block everything out and just not like what you're doing. And so I think sometimes we're self care and mental health days and rest. It's this big thing that's so talked about nowadays. And I keep seeing what people I know and care about. They talk about how, oh, I need a rest day, I need a mental health day, I need a self care day. But the problem is they're self caring themselves and they're resting all these days, and they've been doing it for months and years, and their life's not changing because you're doing the same thing. We've all probably heard this, but an object at rest stays at rest. An object in motion stays in motion. And so you're slowing yourself down, you're pulling yourself back, you're resting, you're self caring yourself to death, but nothing's getting better in your life, nothing's changing in your life. But why don't you, instead of that, when you start feeling down, go out and serve someone else, go out and do something for someone else, take someone dinner, drop something off, go serve with an organization, go, whatever it may be, get involved, volunteer. um, but get outside yourself and go do something. And there's something to that. Some people might say, well, I don't like that, I'm not an extrovert. I'm not either. I'd rather hang out by myself. I'm very introverted, and I only am extroverted when I have to be, and I have to flip the switch when I'm doing business stuff or I'm talking in front of people, whatever it may be. But that's not my natural go-to. Being extroverted or being in a crowd of people is very draining to my energy. But with that being said, when I get to go serve and give and be a part of something and get to see the impact I'm having, that is energizing to me. And so it's just, it's so hard for me to see that so many people are, we'll call it, replacing, they're using rest and they're replacing purpose. Where if you could find the purpose, you may not need as much rest as you think. And I think that's a big thing right now is we're we need this mental health day, we need this self-care day, and then we're scrolling through TikTok, we're scrolling through Instagram, we're sitting here on our phones all day, we're watching TV, and we're doing all these things, but we wonder why we don't feel good, why our lives are maybe still miserable, why we're struggling with all these things internally. But it's because honestly, we're becoming very self-absorbed with ourselves instead of being selfless towards others. And there's something to that. Again, that secret to living is giving. It's being selfless. It's how can you go outside yourself? And there's a time and place for rest, self-care, and all those things, but it's not daily. It's not every single day, all day. It's not half the month, half the week. It's here and there. It's bits of rest to recharge, and then just hitting the ground running and going out. It's building your business, taking care of your family, serving others, doing stuff for strangers, getting involved with organizations. And there's something to be said about that. Motion creates energy, giving creates life. And so it's just so frustrating me to see these things with so many people that I know and care about and respect. But it's like, it's one thing for it to be in a moment. It's another thing for it to develop into an excuse long term. And I see that with so many people with just that I know. Again, forget the online thing. Forget everyone that you just see. It's just everywhere. Self care, all this stuff. But just the people I know I see it with. And it's like, you got to go. You got to make it happen. And I think we all have these struggles. I've struggled with this before. But you got to go. You got to keep moving. And so, again, like I said earlier, I can't think of one time in my life I have given or served or done something and then looked back and said, man, I regret this. Why did I do that? And so, and again, and that doesn't mean it's always received well. Like there's been times I've done stuff and people were super ungrateful, and I could be frustrated. Not to say I was never frustrated in the moment with some of that stuff, but even looking back, I never regretted doing it. And this may be selfish in a sense, but because for me personally, it made me feel good about what I did. I felt good about at least going out and doing something good, doing something with a cheerful heart, doing something for the right reasons. And then, however, that's received or perceived by other people, that's not on me. But there really is something to getting out, serving, giving, and sometimes even stretching yourself. People want all this comfort, but you got to stretch sometimes. And, one of my mentors says, um, extremity expands capacity. And so if you don't push it, it's never going to grow. And so go out and give, go out and serve, go out and do something. You know, self care is self care is supposed to support your life, not replace it. And so you don't need another day off. You need another reason to get up.